am in the middle of watching Boys Planet episode 9 and I am literally in tears. Oh my god. You know what? I'm gonna calm down for a second and then start my review from there.
Quickly moving on from that mess there, I've never had my light so bright on me. I don't know, it hurts my eyes even more than usual. But let's get into episode 9, which was a lot of things. Firstly, a tear, I don't know, jerker, is it how you say it? It was crazy. I was crying almost like half the episode. But let's just get straight into it as I usually do. So, firstly, it was kind of all over the place this episode because like they showed the members initially, which makes sense, changing their team members and adding new team members, losing whatever it may be for that specific team, and it made sense. But then it kind of jumped around from place to place, so it might seem jumbled in that sense, my review that is, because the episode itself was that way. So initially they changed members, and I just wanted to say the new members of the Supercharger team were really at a disadvantage because not only is the choreography really, really difficult, the members that they have don't really originally suit the concept, or that's not really like their stereotype that they followed initially before joining this team. And none of them were like super, super dance oriented members, if that makes sense. So they were really at a disadvantage because they had these new members who were familiar with another song that they were preparing for, and now they had to suddenly learn this, while other teams were just simply continuing the song that they've been training for. So I would honestly be so mad if I was in Supercharger or even just Switch because you would have to learn it all over again. Imagine how frustrating that would be. And everyone on TikTok, because I don't know, I was like spoiled a lot before watching this episode, like especially Cuban being 16th place, but that's like at the very end. Everyone loves Over Me, which I totally get. It's an amazing song, and like that beat drop, I want to say, almost like a no, I'll just say beat drop and leave it at that. But that beat drop was extraordinary. However, no one talks about Switch. Like that's literally the best song. It gives NCT Dream vibes, and a lot of people agree with that as well. But I absolutely love that song, Switch. And Supercharger is an okay song, but I feel like you would get sick of it pretty often if you're just listening to it. But I can't wait to add Switch onto my Spotify playlist, and I'll also have Over Me maybe on guard. We'll see. Alrighty, so we begin with the Say My Name team, and they initially show some training clips, not training, like practicing clips from this specific team. And they had a bit of a conflict with Matthew, not really being happy with the part that the members decided for him. So initially he had, I believe, sub vocal one, and that was obviously more of a significant chunk, but really not that different, I suppose. And the members were saying, okay, Singon could match sub vocal one a little bit better than sub vocal two. So they decided to switch it around, and everyone agreed on it, but Matthew was unsatisfied. Is kind of what it was. Now, I just want to preface by saying I literally love Matthew. If I had to pick anyone from the top 9 right now and choose one bias, like if that top 9 debuted right now, let's say, my bias would probably be Matthew. Not that I would like totally stand them, but whatever. I just feel like he was really, really over exaggerating when he was talking about the part and losing it. Like, oh my god, so vocal one is literally my lifeline, was is what he was saying. It's just not that, it shouldn't be that traumatic. It's just one part, and it shouldn't be that difficult of a choice if all of your members agree with that part change and think another member can suit it better and you would suit another part, you know? Like, it could be so much worse than sub vocal two. If you're complaining about, like, the least amount of lines, maybe, but, like, still, it could be so much worse, is what I'm saying, and I can really sense that he wasn't really thinking for the team, but more so about his personal desires. And honestly, I do think this will lower his votes and his rank overall, but we'll see how that goes. And they show more of this clip, or more of their argument within the Say My Name team. So I'll talk more about that a little later because they only showed a small chunk of it. So moving on to Switch. Now, Switch had a lot of member changes as well, similar to Supercharger. Not as I mean, I would say it's on the same level as Supercharger. But no, I am the biggest fan of Camden, and Park Hanbin, I'm also really a big fan of him, but I honestly don't vote for him. I really do want to vote for him, but I simply do not have the space to vote for anyone else right now. I am a really big fan of Camden. He is my number one top pick in this entire show. However, Park Hanbin really deserved that killing part. His stage presence is just absolutely out of this world, and his dancing is really, really strong. Camden's main category is dance as well, but if you put those side by side, come on, Park Hanbin is too good. And I really didn't want to talk about this, but I know people ask my opinions about it, so let's just quickly talk about Camden's dad. Now, Camden's dad has been like public enemy number one for about a couple of days now, I suppose. And it's because he basically just kind of, I think his number one problem is that he posts way too much and talks more than he should be. Now, a lot of people and like famous people as well as their families, friends censor themselves when it comes to sharing about the like public figure that they're friends with or acquaintances with, because that is all part of the public image. Even if your dad says something, you'll still be affected by it no matter what affiliation you have with your father or whatever. And essentially, it wasn't that dramatic, but people made it out to be a little bit more dramatic. So, firstly, Camden's dad, that is, he was complaining about having, this other trainee, Lee Seung-wan, having these signs. And Camden's dad was like, what? I thought these signs weren't allowed. How is this other trainee having it? And it wasn't necessarily targeted at that one trainee and saying, oh, I hate this one trainee. Why does he get more opportunities to promote when our child doesn't, essentially, is what he was saying. However, it wasn't specifically targeted at that, but more at like Mnet for not really being clear on these rules. And I guess his confusion of like, can you promote or can you not? I get that, but at the same time, I was like, oh, you are really crossing a line, because K-pop stans will take that and really, I guess, put it into less of a perspective and say, oh my god, now this dad is hating on this other trainee, which can happen if you just don't really look into the details that much. That might be the view that other people hold. And then later on, he defended sorry, he did the opposite, really. Camden's dad supports Jay, like, a lot. And I don't know, that's all I can really say. He supports him a lot. So he was essentially hating on Hui. I don't want to say hate because that's a really strong word, and he wasn't necessarily hating on Hui. He was just saying, I don't know, just throwing shade. Yeah, I'll say it. Like, kind of being immature about it and throwing shade at Hui because he was Jay's enemy or whatever. And it just wasn't cool. Like, I mean, a man at your age, you should kind of be aware of the consequences of your words and be a little bit cautious, especially if you have a son that's in the K-pop industry and wants to debut and haven't achieved this yet. And it doesn't matter if he's achieved it or not, because he should still be very careful about his word choices and very careful about the people that he's talking about. And it was just a whole mess, and now everyone thinks Camden's dad is out there to destroy the other trainees and destroy basically Camden's career as well. And people were saying, well, this doesn't only affect Camden and Boys Planet, but it also affects his chance to debut in FNC, because later FNC might be like, okay, but you already have a terrible digital footprint because of your dad. Like, oh my god, that's not even his fault. And Camden's dad was going live on Twitter. I forgot what the specific term it is, but it's like a voice only live. And Space, I think it's called Space, Twitter Space. And apparently Camden called him in the middle and said, stop this live, like, literally, please stop trash talking about other trainees, which is like such a move for him. And apparently they haven't talked since the show aired, so maybe Camden was like trying explicitly not talking with him. I don't know. This whole situation is a little bit messy, and we don't know that much information about it, which I am cautious to talk about because I don't know about all the details. If I did, I would be very straight to the point with my opinions. However, there's not a lot of information given, and a lot of them are speculations, rumors, things blowing up. Yeah. Alrighty. Let's now talk about On Guard. This is so funny because there was a prank in this, and before I knew it was a prank, I was like, as someone who is very neutral about both Konuk and Seungwon, that is really embarrassing for Lee Seungwon to not properly do his thing just because he was unsatisfied with his part. Now, that was what I was gonna say before I realized it was a prank, and I fell for it completely, so good job on their part. I completely did not know it was a prank. But honestly, well, I guess I'll explain the prank. So Konuk had the killing part, which is a significant role, I would say. And Sungwon, in the middle of, their parts were already decided. However, he was like, okay, but I actually want to try out for the killing part. And it was just like a really weird thing to do because if your parts have already been chosen and you're like practicing, and then in the middle you're like, oh, wait, can I try again, please? One more chance. It's just really not the best manners, right? And Konuk was like, sure, whatever. If you want to re audition for the part, go for it. And later, Lee Seung-wan got the part, and Konuk was like upset about it, but he wasn't like complaining about it, which I think really just shows his personality, either his personality or his way of kind of censoring himself, which is also honestly a part of your personality. Like keeping a hold of yourself and keeping yourself in check is really, really important, and he definitely does it well. And he's literally my age, which is crazy, which has really nothing to do with this. I just was shocked by it. I thought he was quite older. No, I think a lot of people would have complained if they were in his shoes. However, he was extremely polite about it and just shows his personality, which is great for him. Not like the biggest fan of him. I'm pretty neutral about him, by the way. Okay, yeah, they kept on like Mnet was really weird. The editing was just kind of weird in this episode. Like they kept on showing the performance spoilers, like the audience arriving with their little signs. Yet they didn't show the performance. I was like, oh, it's finally happening, and then they're like, psych, no, we're gonna show you something else. Haruto's dad being there was so cute with the Haruto sign, and I'm so glad that there's Camden fans in there as well. A lot of people were holding Camden signs, and of course, Hui Hetek signs were there as well. So it's great seeing that my faves, although Haruto isn't really part of my faves, but anyway, Camden and Hui, having these support. I mean, we knew that we would be having this support, but I was a little surprised that Camden had support as well, which I'm extremely happy about, of course. Okay, so we then move on to this part where they are doing like a show, like a guerrilla. I can never pronounce that in English. Guerrilla. Is that how you say it in Korean? I don't know. I'm not even going to try. I'm just embarrassing myself. But essentially, it's like a pop-up performance where it wasn't extremely planned, very informal. And typically, these are like in the middle of the street, but this one was held in like an actual indoor space. And the trainees thought this was going to be like a star creator moment where they came and they were supposed to show their or a sneak peek of their performance. However, it was actually their family that came, and that really was the heartwarming content that I signed up for. And this was better than any prank that involved CA or whatever. I genuinely don't believe the people that made this happen is also the same people that made Hui do CA. That sucks, but solely focusing on this because that happened way, way back, and I suppose I don't forgive them, but I suppose that's all in the past now. And it was just really, really heartwarming to see all of the parents, not all, but like a lot of the parents come and see their son perform, and I kind of felt sad for the global trainees that couldn't have their parents. I feel like that's even more bittersweet, not having your parents while everyone is like, oh my god, that's my mom, that's my dad. Yeah, except for Haruto and Keita, of course. I think Keita's mom was there, and Haruto's parents were there, which is great for them. Did they travel all the way to see this? That's crazy. But at the same time, a lot of people travel from Korea to Japan and back, so it's not like the most crazy expenditure like Camden's twin coming to see Camden from America just for this. Yeah. And Umuti being there was honestly, again, extremely bittersweet. Like, imagine yourself, like, not being on that stage when you could have been, and you seeing that in a third person perspective. That would have been so upset. Like, I would have honestly cried just because I'm selfish like that. No, I'm just kidding. Just because, like, oh my god, that could have been me. That kind of feeling is so insulting. I don't want to say insulting. I can't really put it into words, but it feels like you're missing something that you could have had. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, safe to say I shed a couple of tears, but that wasn't really like the thing that moved me entirely, as you saw in that first snippet of this video. But apart from the sad stuff that happened in this one event, let's talk about the happy stuff. It's firstly so crazy that Cade and Camden are so like similar in terms of mannerisms. When I saw like a little spoiler on TikTok, I believe it was, I genuinely thought it was like a setup that Mnet did where Camden recorded himself back in the day, and then Camden was now talking to his current self. Like, I genuinely thought it was him talking to his current self and like a letter to your future self, that kind of situation. But it wasn't. It was literally his twin. And you can actually see the differences in their face, But yeah, I was surprised. I I'm surprised that they're both so introverted. Yeah, it's crazy. It's kind of funny though. Yeah, I find their personalities very interesting. Yeah, like they're hiding something. Okay. Next, Kim Junyeon. That guy is so funny. Like, how could you do literal, straight up, pure 애교 in front of your parents and your grandmother? That's crazy to me. Like, his confidence is just out of this world. And as a universe, now I don't know if I'm the only universe that has never seen Hui's parents before. I've heard of them a lot because Shinwon, who is Hui's bestie in Pentagon, like talks about his parents, like Hui's dad all the time, and Hui's dad supporting him and watching his radio more than his members do sometimes. And it's just like extremely funny because Hui's dad is extremely supportive. And honestly, you can see that they also really look like Hui's dad and Hui himself. And you can see that he really does have supportive parents. So it's great to see that. And then they were saying, or Mnet was like pranking them and saying, oh, actually, this was a midterm evaluation. And the parents and the acquaintances are essentially going to be filling this form out to see who is the best member and who is the best team, essentially. But it was all a prank, and what they were actually doing was making them write about their own son, whatever brother, whatever it may be, and just write a letter to them. And it was so, so sad to see. And I honestly wish they included that a little bit more because they only really focused on Konuk and Eugene letter. I would have loved to see other letters in there as well. Maybe Camden's, maybe even Hui's. But that part really made me tear up. I don't know why, because it's just so sad that these young trainees are away from their parents and are on constant pressure and they can't really rant, I suppose. I think that's the saddest part. Yeah, it just made me really sad and touched my heart a little, played with my heartstrings a little bit. Alrighty, let's just get into the performances. Or, no, not the performances, but each of the teams now. So, the very first team that we're going to be talking about is the Supercharger team. Now, I am so glad that Mnet gave Haruto a lot of screen time. Let's be real, he got a lot of screen time, but he totally deserved every single millisecond of it because he basically turned that team, whatever it was, to what it is in that performance. And him telling Ollie, because Ollie was basically complaining and almost saying, oh, I just want to quit and leave the show. And him telling Ollie that it's really disrespectful to say that when there are other eliminated trainees that are basically dying to be here. That was so refreshing, and him saying that really, really made him deserve his leader role, and I could really see that in him. And he is also really desperate to debut. He's one of those people, trainees. I'm sure like a lot of his trainees are desperate to debut, but there's certain different levels, I think. And he really guided the team, essentially, is what I want to say. Now, moving on to the performance, because everything went pretty not smoothly, but there wasn't anything much else to comment on. So the performance, firstly, everyone's makeup and hair was really, really solid here. And this was actually before I saw the other performances and the hair and makeup for that. So for this one specifically, yeah, the hair and makeup was really good. And it didn't really match their original features. However, I think the makeup stylists really made it work. And I watch this ASMR channel, Soy ASMR, and she often does collabs with this makeup artist, and that makeup artist does makeup for the Boys Planet, so it could really be her doing it, which is great. Like, it's like my two worlds are colliding almost. Whew, okay, so firstly, I was extremely impressed by Ollie's rap. Now, obviously, we know that Ollie's been rapping since day one. I mean, all of his performances, I think, have rapped to it to a certain degree, but this one, I think, suited his style a little bit more and was able to show his rapping techniques better than more of his natural style and stage presence, because the one in Zoom, his rap in Zoom, didn't impress me that much, but this one was impressive. And initially, before this performance and everything, I saw a lot of people doubting Ungi because Ungi was seen more of like a cute kind of guy in Boys Planet, which I totally understand. His personality is extremely bubbly and outgoing all of the time, which makes you think, oh, this person suits a cute concept better. However, his original group that he was from, T01, whatever. 2-1, I don't really know how to just pronounce it, but their group was more of like a supercharger concept, not gonna lie. More of a dark boy crush kind of concept. So I guess people that were doubting him didn't really know about his past very well. But this song and just performance, it just seemed like it was made for Haruto, and yeah, he just really suited the song well. And I'm really glad he got the killing part because I don't think anyone else would have pulled that off. Like I like try to think about the other trainees that could have been in this team, and honestly, I can't imagine a better fit than Haruto being in that spot, which is great. You've literally made it your own, which is the whole point of this artist round, right? To almost experience being an artist and make the song yours. Okay. Sohwon, let's just talk about him. He is literally my pick. Kind of spoiled it. I'll be showing my votes at the end as I usually do, but I literally vote for him every day. But let me be honest, his vocals don't necessarily suit this song, and I honestly think it sounded more of like a cover than, let's say, Haruto, where he was genuinely making it his own. It's more of a, like, Sohwon's voice is more of a higher range. It has a touch of, like, feministic qualities, I suppose you could say. And I think he would have been better off with Say My Name, I suppose. Was he in Say My Name originally? I think so, maybe. But I guess they didn't really like blow me away, but it was a good performance. I'll give it to them. And I suppose the only weakness that they had was they didn't feel like a whole group. But at that point, it might just be me being picky and kind of asking for too much. Now, on to the results, where Takoto placed last. And this guy has been placing last in all of these performance rankings, and that would be so upsetting. If that was me, oh my god, I would be so upset at myself and also upset at everything, I guess. Like, it would really hurt your ego to have yourself last and really wonder, oh, do I really suck that much? Do I not stand out as much? That is such a terrible feeling to have, and I think this would really mess up your mental mental health, mental stability. I don't know. I hope Takuto is okay though. Yeah, I feel like he would succeed with the concept that suits him better. Something like cuter, I think, would very much so suit him better. And honestly, we all knew that Haruto would be ranking first. And okay, now this part gets into more of the controversial talk. So there's this one trainee that I guess a lot of people talk about. Like, he doesn't have the highest rank, but obviously he's made it till here. And a lot of people talk about him and being like, oh, he's so underrated. I wish people would notice him more. So I actually started to give more attention to him and started looking at more of his performances and started to actually focus on him as a trainee. However, I say this with so much caution. I don't really see why he gains popularity, and honestly, I feel like he doesn't stand out as a trainee currently. No hate on him. I have very neutral feelings, but I feel like that's my personal opinion. Yeah, I guess I want to say I don't really understand the hype, but I know that's really not the best thing to say to a trainee that's trying his best. I'm not saying he doesn't try hard, but I feel like he could do more, I guess, and I feel like he would succeed so much better. Alrighty. Now we're going to move on to the On Guard performance. Now, On Guard was kind of like a solid group because they didn't have any member changes, so they've essentially just been rehearsing this the entire time. And they got judged by the pig judge. I forgot his name. Pig Julia? Pig. Let's just call him Pig because that's his last name. And he basically evaluated them really, really strictly and was saying, this sucks, you guys don't deserve any. No, I'm just kidding. But, like, it was kind of bad. And he was honestly doing too much, in my personal opinion. Like, the act of judging in itself is so personal based and it's extremely subjective. So it's like not the absolute truth, you could say, and not everyone will agree with what you're judging and what you're saying, but I feel like he was so overreacting. Like, their performance wasn't even that bad. There weren't any major problems with it, but he was acting like they were not doing anything and they were just standing around and goofing off for the entire performance, which wasn't the case. And I guess it's a thank goodness because it gave the trainees a wake-up call and try harder, and maybe if the judge didn't have that whole spiel, maybe they wouldn't have a successful performance. But at the same time, it's really not necessary to be that hurtful, I suppose, is what I just want to say. and then practicing until like 5 a.m. until literally the sun was up. I think that is totally crazy, but at the same time, it really does depict the reality of becoming a K-pop trainee and the effort that goes into it. So I think anyone that wants to actually become a K-pop trainee or even be on a survival show or be involved with the industry in any way, I really recommend that you do watch these shows because, and I'm sure you are because you are watching this Boys Planet review, but it really does show how real this stuff gets, and this isn't just all of it. Like, this is like 5% of their entire training thing. So it shows the amount of effort that's put into it and almost makes me feel bad because imagine their physical health as well, just slowly deteriorating. And these people are, of course, they're young, but they also have to take care of themselves, so it almost makes me worried. But anyway, let's talk about the performance. Now, firstly, again, the outfits were so cool. If someone debuted with those outfits, I would be impressed by it. And honestly, I think Hui's vocals shined best in this specific song choice in all of Boys Planet. Not even his not debut, his audition stage, not even, was it Love Me Right? And then what was next? What was after Love Me Right? Oh, Tomboy, yeah. No, none of those. This one really, really made it shine best, and I feel like his vocals finally got justice in some way. Really shows that no matter how strong your vocals are, you need a strong song choice if you want to make your voice stand out, I suppose. And this performance really filled in the gaps that Supercharger had for me. And this group really felt like a group, a solid whole group that was ready to debut at any given time. And I wrote this with, again, a lot of caution. However, I wasn't super impressed by Cuban's rap. Maybe it's because, does he even have a rap position initially? I honestly don't know. However, I wasn't too impressed by it. Like, his very first rap was really, really, I don't know, it didn't hit me as strong, but his second rap was good, but it wasn't like mind blowing, I suppose. So when he got first place in the results, I was extremely shocked. I was so expecting Konuk to get first place. I was like almost, oh, let's just skip it. We know Konuk's gonna win. However, Cuban got it. So I was so shocked. So this one I couldn't predict it almost. I mean, except for Haruto, that is. I mean, we've only really seen two of them. Yeah. So lastly, we're going to be talking about the Say My Name performance. And this one, they didn't actually perform. They showed like a snippet of it. And fun fact, this is the first time that Mnet didn't use a Hui performance for the cliffhanger, essentially. So that's a first. I mean, I guess it's because Say My Name has a lot of top people. It has Jung, it has Song Hanbin, it has Matthew. Who else does it have? Well, a lot of like popular trainees essentially. So I guess it kind of makes sense that they're using it as a cliffhanger more than Hui. So revisiting the Matthew situation, I just want to clarify that he was acting mature. However, it seemed like he was under a lot of stress, and I guess he wasn't in the most clear mind, I suppose. So I'll forgive him for that because I think there could be worse things that you do. However, you do have to admit that it was immature. Even if you are a Matthew stan, just admit that. And I'm glad Chu was actually okay and confident enough to actually put things straight and tell Matthew that this is actually a team and not really putting your individual desires before anything else. So I'm glad Chung was able to say that. And a lot of people say Chung is overrated and just his visuals, but I would actually disagree. Yes, of course, his visuals are extremely strong. However, he also has that almost leader-like quality as well. I would agree so. And his talents are good as well. So although I'm not voting for him, I am rooting for him because I know he's going to debut either way. Now, they showed like a snippet of the performance, like almost like a spoiler. And I guess the first thing I want to mention about that is Lip J. Now, everyone on TikTok hates Lip J. Why? Because she acts really weird when it comes to Eugene, who is an '07 member. And let me tell you, their age gap is 29 to 30 years apart, which is crazy. And honestly, I didn't initially notice it because, you know, she was just being supportive is what I was thinking, because I give people the credit, the benefit of the doubt, I suppose. And I guess I didn't notice it until people were mentioning it more and more. And it is slightly getting weird. I do have to admit, it's getting a little weird about how her reactions are shown, especially paired with Mnet's editing of Lip J and Yujin combo. Like, it's just kind of getting weird. I'll leave it at that. Now, why am I so hungry? I'm so freaking hungry. It's 10. I'm not gonna eat, let's be real. Oh, but I'm so hungry. Should I eat something? I don't know why. The talking has like really made me lose my energy. Okay, let's talk about the little snippets of the rankings that they kind of spoiled on, which are so random, by the way. I don't really know why they showed those specific ranks. Actually, I do know, because they're like unpredictable. So the very first unpredictable one was Cuban at 16th. Now, I was totally expecting him to drop more, and I actually told you guys this in the last K-drama review? No, Boys Planet review. I told you guys that Cuban is going to drop ranks. However, I did not expect him to drop, what, like almost 10 ranks? That's crazy to me, and I honestly kind of feel bad for him. I don't think he'll debut, to be honest. And then we've got Ricky at 7th place, which again, I was not expecting. I thought he would never actually be in the top 9. I thought he would just be close, like maybe 11 max. However, him at 7th, go him. But again, I just wasn't expecting that at all. And if I'm being honest, I don't think he'll debut, Ricky. I think he's a cool guy, but genuinely, I don't think he will debut. We'll see though, we'll see. People will really surprise you. Like, I didn't think Irene would not debut, but he did. She didn't, so we'll see. But I guess that was different because it's like a filler vote situation. So now we're going to be announcing my votes. And let me tell you guys, well, let me just show you for proof, I suppose. It's the exact same as last week. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It's Hwitek, Camden, and Seolan. I'm thinking of switching Seolan to Park Hanbin. We'll see. I don't really know, but I know that Hui and Camden are going to be there forever, essentially. So I really don't have space for extra votes. So if you're in the comments begging me to vote for someone, I'm sorry, not today or any other day. I will support them in my heart, is what I've been saying. Why is this flashing like that? By the way, I dropped my phone like in front of my gym, like on the concrete, and they found it. Thank God. But my camera is absolutely destroyed back here. Whoa. Whoa. Oh my God. My camera lens actually... Oh. Actually just shattered. It had like spider cracks, and now it's just completely gone. Oh, okay, that's weird. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. It was kind of a lot all over the place, but I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.